Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. We are back with the Vibe Online episode 28.
Wow.
And I am here at home in Plymouth with Megan. Megan has come down. And we have an incredible special guest this week. And we did mention last week that we were going to have somebody on the back of what we spoke about with the men's event that they did last weekend in Wales. So please welcome Lewis Rodgers, who is in the business community with us also. So thank you so much for coming on. It's great to see you here on a Sunday morning.
Bright and early.
Absolutely, best way to start the day. So yeah, we're going to just ask you a few questions, do a little interview, give our listeners a bit of insight into you, where you came from, how you got into the business, how the weekend event impacted you, and I'll pass you over to Meg to ask you the first few questions.
Yeah, sure. So thanks so much, Lewis, for jumping on with us. It's honestly
no problem. It's amazing.
A pleasure to have you on and to share with our listeners and our audience, a bit of an insight into, what we're going to speak about today. So very exciting stuff. So do you want to start by giving us a bit of an insight into yourself and your journey, kind of where you came from and, what brought you into what you're doing now?
Yeah. So I suppose I'll go way back. So I've always lived in the UK, a place called Norwich. Very flat place, as you know, and I've always worked in the construction industry, and I've done my qualifications, worked my way up the ladder there, and I've always had this kind of passion to travel and see the world. But working in that type of environment, being stuck in a trade, I was never able to do that. I'd go on holidays and things like that, but I could never fully do what I really wanted to do. So I went on my first backpacking trip in 2017, where that really opened my eyes up to the world and life and just a different perception on everything. I traveled for 9 months, Southeast Asia, brought a dog back from Thailand as well, rescued that. She's still here now. And that was an amazing time. And I was back into the hamster wheel and I was like, how the hell do I get back out doing that? I started to save up for a mortgage over here, got trapped into the rat race again, the tunnel to go how everyone else is going. I didn't want to do that. So I took that money that I had for a house and I basically went to Australia and New Zealand, where I lived for the last 3 years. I've been back now a year, but I spent 3 years out there, traveling around, spent lots of money, ended up working out there, got really, really settled. And I kind of forgot that I was on a temporary visa. I just, I had no care in the world and I just didn't worry about anything. And I just had a life there. I had friends, I had like a whole routine. And then it come to a point where I was like, I got an email from the government to say like your visa's due to expire in so many months. And I was like, okay,
no.
I forgot I don't live in this country. So I was like, okay, I need to sort something out now. And I didn't want to go back to the UK. And I'd always see people working from the laptops and things like that. And I was like, I must be able to do that. But working in construction my whole life is something that's really, really far-fetched and something that I thought I probably couldn't do. But I never let that, go out of my mind. I wanted that. And that's really where it took me on this path into the online world, where I wanted to step into actually being able to, not have to go to these different countries to rely on different visas to then stay and just worry about all these different types of things. I want to just travel freely. So that's really when I found the opportunity that we're all a part of now. And it's led me on a massive journey into entrepreneurship. And now I'm on that road now to being able to actually have that life that I never thought I'd ever be able to have, which is crazy, isn't it?
It's incredible, isn't it? So how long ago did you start your business journey?
So I found this business in September 2021, and I didn't start properly until March 2022. So this March coming, it'll be 2 years.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And you are now no longer in the construction industry, is that right?
Nearly. I'm nearly out of it.
Yeah, it's amazing actually, isn't it? How you go from like finding an opportunity by just watching other people and then kind of having the belief that you can achieve it yourself. Exactly. And in such a short space of time, you've completely transformed your life and you will get all that freedom back again, won't you? Just to live
exactly
how you want. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. So obviously with the event last weekend, how did all that come about? Like, obviously we're aware, and me and Meg spoke last week on the podcast about the importance of men's mental health. and the kind of need to put it out there and talk about it more, because obviously there's such a high percentage of men that don't talk about it. So
Yeah.
obviously Meg's partner Mike was there, which is great, and obviously another couple of guys from our community, because obviously we are in different communities, although we are in the one big beautiful community together
Yeah.
globally. So how did it all come about, and how did you get involved in that?
Well, I suppose it's there's such a need for it in every area of life, for men to open up and just to be able to connect with other men on that kind of level. So I suppose within our industry, it was brought up by another person that we need to have this connection. It's very, very important. So from there, it was kind of, it was all speed of getting us as quick as we can together with other men, and then basically just now doing what we're doing now, which is going to be, the regular meetups, the calls and connections and stuff like that. So I was actually invited by Tristan, who set this all up.
Amazing.
Because I've always thought about this myself, but it's just taken that step to do it. I've always wanted to help men from my experiences of mental health through what I've been through, and knowing that there's a need for it. But having someone that was like, right, we're doing it, was awesome, because then now I'm doing it and now everyone else is doing it. So it's like this massive rolling ball of like, it's happening.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I think, like you, I think a lot of men feel exactly the same way as you, and they wish that there was a space, or they also want to make some kind of contribution or difference to other men in the world. But it just takes one person to actually take the action and instigate that space, and now it's going to be rippling throughout all of the communities.
Exactly, that's all you need.
That is all you need. It just takes one. It really does take one.
And it's once the rest of the guys see that one person's speaking out and being open and honest, it's like, actually it's okay for me to be that guy. Like, there's no judgment, there's no fear of not being able to be yourself. So was there any particular, there's probably a million highlights, but any particular highlights from the event that you're happy to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, it was a personal highlight. You can probably see right now I've got a bald head. So before that, that's why I got a hat on. It's cold. But before that, I'll go to like where it started. So I've always been self-conscious about my hair thinning. I know it's stupid, but it's a mat. A mat. It's your pride and joy, isn't it? Your hair,
for
as
sure.
a man, just like the women's hair, but men is like a beard and hair. So, I mean, it wasn't a major problem for me, but it was something that, because I'm on this entrepreneurial journey and this journey of self-discovery, I'm unlocking all these different parts of myself that I'm working through. And I thought this was one piece that was really holding me back, but I didn't really have a way to work on that, to be able to accept I'm thinning. So at this event, it was just it was a release for me to be able to accept that. So we had we're obviously speaking to each other, and everyone was opening up about their problems, people sharing all their different struggles and things like that. And I just thought to myself, these guys are all being open and honest here, and they're accepting themselves in this environment, and I'm sitting here looking in the mirror at my hair every time I walk in the bathroom and stuff like that. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I need to just accept myself. And literally like that, I was like, I'm going to do it. And I even said it onto a recorded video that I was doing with Nathan. You probably saw it online, and I was like, I'm going to say it now, but after this I'm going to shave my head, and I held myself accountable to it. And
Wow.
And now I feel like I've had a massive release in myself. Like, I don't care what I look like now. I feel like I've found myself a little bit more, which is hard to explain the feeling, but I feel like I am me again now. And I wouldn't ever been able to do that if I didn't go to this event and be surrounded by that environment to be able to open up how I did. And I think that's just made me realize that it's not just the guys that are in the business in the environment, it's the guys that are in all walks of life that this would help. So it made me feel that, okay, I can just do that with everyone, not just the guys in this room.
So
that was my biggest shift from that, and it was huge.
Wow, that's phenomenal. As you were sharing that with us,
goosebumps.
I had goosebumps all over my body.
So have I, because I'm cold.
Oh, that's incredible. It must be such a nice feeling, obviously as women we can completely resonate with the whole hair, the way you look, in the world that we live in, there's a lot of judgment and people judging how you look. I mean, I'm super conscious right now about my face after the dentist. So, you know, everybody has their sort of insecurities. So, you know, that's amazing that from a guy's point of view, because guys never really talk about this, do they? They never kind of be open and honest and let that guard down and, you know, leave the ego where it belongs.
Yeah, and you would never ever know, knowing you, Lewis, or seeing you online, that you ever had that kind of insecurity. Because for anyone that does follow you, and we'll obviously put your user and your Instagram and all of your socials in the show notes so people can, and we'll share them online.
Definitely.
But you're out there, you're open, you know, you come across so bold and confident.
Yeah.
So you would never ever know that underlying in there is that kind of insecurity or, you know, and I think we all experience our own kind of lack of self-acceptance and lack of self-belief and all of these other kind of limiting beliefs that do hold us back. And something like that, and as simple as you now shaving your head and having the confidence and the acceptance to do that, has now transformed your mental state.
Yeah, it's crazy to think like 9 times out of 10 what people struggle with are just people's opinions, because you know when you're on a day when you don't see anyone, you're in your pajamas, you look like a scruff and you just don't care, but you dress yourself up to go out. So if there was no one else out there in the world to see you, you just be you, how you are with no one's around, and that's how we should be. And it's crazy to think that the lengths that we go to just to, you know, what make people's opinions better of us.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that's very true, actually, very true. And I've never actually thought about it like that. But then, yeah, I suppose I wouldn't be comfortable going out.
I always picture this. I always tell myself, if I was in a world like I lived in a cave and like there was no one else around, would I really worry about doing my hair, or would I worry about what my beard looked like, or you know, all these different types of things? And if I know it's a massive shift to where we are in humanity right now, but if you can kind of bring yourself back to a little bit of that and be like, what would I be doing if I could just be me, and then try and tap into that as much as you can. Obviously don't, if you've done it like that, you're probably walking around naked looking like a
Maybe don't do that.
but just little aspects of that, you know, just try and bring it back to that every time, and try and knock off those things that are worrying you. I think that's kind of, that helps.
Yeah, it's a great shift, actually, and I think a lot of the listeners will take
a lot from that.
A lot, yeah.
I think that's, you know, listening to the growth of the men's community now that you're now building and part of, and seeing that wider aspect of why we do the business that we do and the mission behind the opportunity that we have, really is coming back to yourself, and it is being your authentic self, and you know, returning to our origin and our own authenticity and accepting ourselves for who we are. So it's such a beautiful alignment that all of these little things that you're able to kind of uncover and I suppose unlearn or uncondition yourself to believe from what society have taught us, or you know, that we've kind of merged into, and just allowing yourself to just be. And I think it's such a powerful thing to be able to show that online, and with this podcast and us sharing this, and exactly why we do this podcast and why we do what we do online and share all of that, is to be open and honest and truthful to people and show our authentic self, so that they can be like, actually, I want to be myself too. And this business rewards you exactly for that.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's hard to get your head around sometimes, isn't it? You can just be yourself, and that's the business, that's you. And that's the most beautiful, rewarding part of this business, is being able to break through those barriers and unlock all these different parts of yourself. Like, you know, the money's amazing, but you can't put a price on the growth and how we evolve as a person, like from where we come. It's priceless. Yeah,
it really is. It's a great place to be. So going back to the event then, was there a particular main focus, or like, was it just like, let's get all the guys together and just kind of just be us?
Yeah, it was, it started like that. But then as the kind of, because it was our first ever meetup event, so we kind of we just went for it and thought, right, whatever happens, we'll have a jam. And then we started getting into it a bit more, and I'd say it turned from like a chat to then being able to push everyone through their fears, because we got on the hike, there's people that were really scared. We were up really high in the mountain, and we all worked as a team to push people through. So
Right.
people were scared at that point, and then we came down and we jumped into the cold water, and people were scared at that point. So it then kind of transitioned to like conquering the mind trip that we're all on, like just
Yeah.
pushing through our limitations. And then after, we're all like sitting in the warm house and like shaking each other's hands and being like, oh, man, you've done it, you pushed through that. So then it like, yeah, it was just like a transformation of not knowing anyone to start with, to like, getting to know each other. And then we went on a massive journey of like a hike and like pushing through all these limits and boundaries, to then having that massive friendship bond at the end where we've just conquered something.
Amazing. And it's funny, isn't it? Because ultimately we all work online, and we join this business through some kind of stranger that we've met on the internet, that we've connected with because we've come through their ad, and seeing what they have is something that we would like to learn more about and get involved in. So how many of the guys did you actually know beforehand, or if any?
I think there was about 10 of us there, I think, and I probably only knew 3 or 4.
Okay. How do you feel putting yourself into that environment of not knowing people?
You always get a bit nervous to start with. It's always normal. Like, no matter how far I come in this journey, I'm always, even coming on here, I was like anxious.
Really?
I started to do breathing. I was like trying to calm myself down, and then I'm on here, and it's like, I don't know what I was worrying about. But people might get that coming into these events and meeting new
Yeah.
people as well. But then as soon as you start speaking, just like we have this morning, sorry, it just goes, and you can just connect, and there's nothing to be worried about. And yeah, I think it's amazing that people were able to connect with people that they don't know, because that's the most important thing. Because you're always going to be comfortable around people that you do know, and then being able to speak to people that you don't know and open up is more powerful.
Yeah, it certainly pushes boundaries, doesn't it? And pushes you outside that comfort zone. And, as we all say, you guys obviously experienced that in the event, for those that had the fear of heights or the fear of the cold water or whatever. When you put yourself into that uncomfortable environment that nobody likes to put themselves in initially, but the growth that comes on the back of that is tremendous, isn't it? Like, and
Yeah.
it comes in lots of different ways, shapes and forms.
I think after a while as well, you recognize that everyone feels the same as you when they come into things like this.
Yeah.
So, and you recognize that actually everyone is just a human being. We all have emotions and feelings and fear and nervousness. And, you may feel that way, and then everybody feels the same way as well. But when you're all together, because we're humans, we just have natural human connection.
Yeah.
You bond just like that. And
Yeah.
especially in something like this, and, with the opportunity that we have, we're also similarly minded, in the sense that we all want to improve and develop and push through our fears and become our best selves that we possibly can, and then create our own freedom as well. So having that mutual kind of understanding without actually saying it helps those kind of relationships foster as well.
I think it's a connection that you haven't even built yet that's there, because you're on that same level already, and as soon as you speak, it's connected. You haven't got to try and do the work to actually connect to that person. It's already there. Like when we go to these offline events, you're speaking to people you never met before, and it's like they're your best friend.
Yeah.
You go to someone, and you just meet someone in a restaurant or a bar for the night, and it's a lot. You have to know them for half a year to even know the fucking name or something.
Yeah, it's totally different, isn't it? It's like it's really nice just to be able to connect really easily with no effort, and very different to, I always put it down to, like, when you join or start a job in sort of the corporate world or whatever, you're put into an environment where again, it's strangers, you don't know these people, but you literally have nothing in common with them. So to put yourself in that environment, to make money, to put food on the table, to pay your bills, etc., when actually what we have here is something very special that gives us way more, but also a sense of kind of like feeling and true belonging and true authentic self and true and real connections with strangers that live all over the world that you connect with, and now have most people that have joined this business have friends that they will have for the rest of their life, and through that, which is incredible. So are there any particular lessons that you've learned from your time in the business, and more so from the weekend there, that you will take forward and implement into the business?
Oh God,
there's probably a million.
Yeah, I'm rattling my brain right now. I suppose again, it just for me, it's all about the self again. It's just accepting who you are and just embracing who you are, because you're never going to change who you are. And in the end of the day, if you're battling against who you are for your whole life, you're never going to win because you can't change it. So I think accepting the things in your life and yourself that you can't change would be the biggest thing that for me.
Yeah. What would be, I was going to say one, but it's probably not enough. What would be your 3 pieces of advice this is obviously more for the male audience of the podcast here. So if you could sum up everything that you've had happen to you since joining the business and the event of the weekend, what would be the 3 best pieces of advice that you would give to somebody who is looking to join the business, that is maybe very much like how we all started, very nervous, very skeptical, very scared, but they know that they've got it in them and they really want to do it, but it's the fear that holds them back? What advice would you give to our listeners for that?
So yeah, to start with, fear is going to be the thing that always stops you from taking that first step. So, you have to learn to lean into fear, because, that's the other side of fear is the growth. So if you're always sitting in your comfort zone, which is going to be the job you've been doing for your whole life, the things that you have right now, and you're trying to get further, if you stay in that zone, you're never going to get that next thing. So number 1 would be step into that fear, embrace it, and just go for it to start with. The second thing would be trust people as well. There's a lot of people online that people don't trust. There's people saying this, people saying that. There is normal people like us out there that are trying to help people. So yeah, have trust as well. And number 3, belief. So believe that you can do it, because we're conditioned that we can't. We're conditioned that all we have right now, is all we've ever had is all we've got. So know and trying to think of the word, reprogram your mind and understand that you can have anything that you want. And it does take a lot of work, but you can actually achieve that. So if you're sitting in a job right now that you hate, your life circumstances aren't that great, then it's always going to be something on the other side of that you can achieve, and your environment's going to stop you from being able to think that you can achieve that, but you can.
Amazing. Yeah, that's really, really valuable advice. Are there any kind of resources or practices that you can offer to those people that you might be speaking to now that have helped you along your journey? You said about reprogramming the mind, or anything that's kind of helped you along your business journey plus personal development journey that you can offer to our listeners for them to start with.
Yeah, the biggest one for me has been being able to take control of your mind as much as you can. Obviously, you're not going to be able to control it fully, but being able to actually be resilient and be able to, not let your mind control you and stop you from doing things. So number 1, and I say it on everyone I speak to, is cold water exposure. You've probably seen it on social media.
Yeah.
Yesterday morning, I was in the sea at -2. This morning, I've just broken. Before I got on this call, I've just broken the ice in the ice bath, and I just got into that.
Wow.
So that's been a staple thing for me to be able to, because I'm dragging myself out of a warm bed that has an electric blanket on, to then drag myself out to then go into -1 ice bath takes a lot of grit. And being able to train yourself to do that, like, it's not just the fact, I'm sitting in cold water, cool, yeah, it looks good on Instagram. It's the fact that I'm training the part of my brain to do things that I don't want to do when I'm feeling like I don't want to do it. So do those types of things. So yeah, ice baths have been the foundation for me, because when I'm wanting to do something new or something that's challenging, like even jumping off the rocks into the cold water, like, I've scaffolded my whole life, I work at heights, but even still jumping off something is a bit like, oh god. But I have that little thing in my head now where I can tap into that and when I step into the ice bath, I get that feeling, so I just go for it. I'm like, boom. And that's what I've helped myself do. So that's one. And breath work, tapping into calming your nervous system down as well, your fight or flight response. It does exactly the same thing with the cold water therapy as well. So all these different things, just to be able to make yourself into a beast and be able to control your mind and stress, is the most important thing, I think, for anyone on any journey.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge part of this, isn't it? Is recognizing that to have different, you have to be different, and you need to step out of your comfort zone to be able to create that other life and even become a better you. So that's great. And I think some people would expect to be like, oh, books, podcasts, this. No, actually, it starts with you as an individual, your mind, and
it starts with discipline, the habits, and all those types of things first. That's the foundations. Then you can add the reading, the personal development on that, but you need to conquer your habits and your patterns that you're undertaking every single day first as your foundations, and then everything else you can plug into it. That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah, and along that journey, obviously, entrepreneurship is a journey of ups and downs and backs and forth and all over the place. Like, so we've all experienced obstacles and setbacks, and just so nobody kind of gets the wrong impression of this business. It's not all plain sailing. You don't just jump in an ice bath and your mind is transformed and you've got the discipline. It's not as smooth as that. So just for the listeners, obviously, to be aware, what specific setbacks or blocks would you say that you came across in the business that you then use these techniques of the ice bath and your mind, etc., to overcome them and carry on and have the successful business that you now have today?
My biggest setbacks have probably been my self-belief. That's been a huge one for me. It's still something I'm working on now, and I'm trying to change. I am reading books and listening to books on my money blueprint and stuff like that to try and change that. So that's areas I'm working on, because like I said before, you're programmed at a set point, your money blueprint, what you've always done your whole life. So that's one thing. And the other thing is going to be the habits as well, bad habits, being in bad habits. And again, the ice baths help with that, and getting yourself out of bed, putting my phone over the other side of the room with a timer, and stuff like that, because you just snooze it. There's actually this app which you can get. It's a barcode alarm. I don't know if you heard about that before.
No.
Basically, it's weird. So it's an alarm on your phone with a barcode on it, right? And you have to scan something in the kitchen to turn the alarm off. So say you've got your coffee jar or your milk or something, you have to go through to the kitchen and scan that code that you've matched with it to then be able to turn your alarm off. So then you're up, you're out of bed, you're done.
Oh, actually brilliant. That's great.
That's great. That's really good, actually.
That's
fantastic.
I've got a Lumi alarm clock which like imitates a sunrise, but sometimes so comfortable still in bed. I'm like, this is actually quite nice. It's great because it's going to get you out of bed, down into the kitchen, and then you can stick your coffee on for the day.
I am going to look into that. Definitely.
That's amazing.
Definitely one for my partner, I think, because he really struggles to get out of bed. I'm going to put it on his phone. And,
you'll be pulling all the labels off.
I know,
We'll be putting stickers all over all of them. Can't do it.
You want to get the Aldi ones because the labels are like that big.
I know. That's great.
True.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted on how we get on with that alarm.
Oh, amazing. So where you're at currently right now, Lewis, like what are your future goals, or what's your next goal within the business and your kind of development journey?
So my next goal for development would be to keep showing people what's possible. At the moment I'm working towards quitting my job, and there's a lot of people out there that haven't taken that first step, or they're scared of it, and I'm want to position myself to be able to show that it's possible, and also the kind of conquering the mind types of things as well. I want to expand that, and I really want to create something. So my long-term vision is to create the largest UK's men's transformational system. So it's going to be like a mixture of obviously there's so many men's retreats in the UK, there's lots of men's retreats, but no one's ever spun that around and mixed that with business. So I want to like take this whole journey of going from nothing, work on the tools to be able to take them through this journey of self-development, to growing their self, conquering their mind. Then they're starting a business, which then helps all the different things in their life, the finances, the mental health, and then just having some massive system. So I'm in the process now of making sure I'm that best person, so then I can teach that and help other people. Because if I'm not doing that, sometimes in the morning I don't want to get in that ice bath, and I say to myself, how can I tell other people to do it if I'm not getting in there myself? So
Very true, yeah.
that's what I'm working on. I want to be able to just be this massive, powerful version of myself that can help people all around the UK. And what was the other question?
Well, actually, I'll ask a question on the back of that. Actually, that's
Yeah.
a phenomenal vision that you've just shared with us there, and
Incredible.
that's amazing. But no doubt that isn't kind of how your goal started before you started this business, right? So can we just share a little bit with our listeners, because obviously I mean, you tell us whether that was always a vision from day one, or how that's kind of developed through your journey now, because we all start this business for our own personal reasons, really, to travel, to
be at home with your
kids, change your financial position, that kind of stuff. And then obviously as the development goes on, the vision gets a bit bigger. So can you share with our listeners a little bit about like that kind of journey?
Yeah, I suppose I've just given you the end of it, haven't I? So that's where I've gotten myself to from the journey I've been on. So yeah, going back is all about me wanting to have more time for myself, and me wanting to create more time with my family, things that I want to do, i.e. travel and stuff like that. So throughout the journey of discovering this business and being able to be on a path to achieving that, because I wasn't able to achieve that before, that's then where it's gone into being able to want to help other people do that. So yeah, for me, the vision for myself now is to go around the world with my backpack, and help other people do that as well, break out of their jobs.
Such an incredible journey. And again, like when you shared that vision there, it's like the goosebumps just were like everywhere, and it's like such an important place for you to be, to create that vision, because I think there's so much focus on females and very little help and support for males, which is now becoming more and more, which is incredible to see. And just to know that there are people like you out in the
facilitating something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing that, you're a really easy, approachable guy. Like, if our listeners have never followed Lewis or seen his Instagram, give him a follow his page, and reach out if you want to come into this, and you don't want to come into it through me or Meg, obviously being females, and you're a male that wants this opportunity. Lewis, I'm sure your inbox is always open to speak to these people
100%.
and to facilitate that space for them. Whereas a male would be more comfortable talking about things or personal things to them with another male, not a female.
And also wanting to be part of that vision with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think there's so many people that want to create change like that in the world.
And it's great. I mean, we obviously work with males and females, which is incredible. But just to have that space facilitated for men that are sort of struggling, and know that they have the ability and drive to create that life, and obviously watch your story and your Instagram and the rest of the guys is a true powerful vision for them, I think, to be able to move forward with their own lives.
100%. And it wouldn't be possible. I wouldn't even been able to probably facilitate this vision if it wasn't for the company that we're partnered with as well, and the mission and the whole journey. It's the business model that gives us that, to be able to then take that and do bigger things with that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why it's helping me do this.
Yeah, incredible. Well, I think we have exhausted our questions that we had for you. So it's been great. Again, thank you so much for coming on. I hope we made you feel a little bit more at ease as the chat went on, from being a bit anxious initially.
Yeah, I'm pumped now. It's started my day really, really well.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure, Lewis. Thank you so much. I think there's been so much value within this.
A lot of value
within this show. So it's been absolutely amazing. Are there any final words or parting statements or anything that you'd like to give to our listeners before we close out this episode?
Just be patient with yourself when you're developing yourself as well. I've rushed a lot of things, even to do with business or to do with my personal self-growth, and you rush things and you don't enjoy it. And I've now learned that you have to enjoy the journey. It's the most important part of it, is enjoying the journey as well. And another thing as well, which I've learned lately, is to look back. So you're always looking forward to where you want to be. I'm not there yet. Why not this person or this and that? And being able to pivot and turn back and look to where you have come from, that then gives you the energy and power to keep going, because you're like, wow, I've come a long way. So yeah, always look back from where you come from. whilst looking into the future, but look back more than forward.
Yeah, incredible takeaways.
Yeah, amazing.
Really important to look back. So yeah, I think that wraps up the episode nicely.
It does. We hope that you have all enjoyed this episode, and thank you so much, Lewis, again for hopping on with us. And we're really excited to see where this whole where you're going with this, what you're going to be able to facilitate, and how the men come together and the community grows there, and more meetups to be seen soon.
Yeah. And are you going to Gran Canaria?
Yep, I've got my tickets.
So we will see you there.
Fantastic.
We're going
Awesome.
to, which will be amazing.
It'd be awesome.
Bit
warmer than this country.
Oh, definitely. It'll get us some winter sun.
You know that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Great, guys. Well, we will be back next week with another episode, and we will see you all very soon.
Take care, guys.
Cheers. Bye.